In this session, we're going to learn how to kind of start with WordPress once we've got the installation set up. At this point, it's assumed that you've got the program installed on your server. You can see from my address bar here that I've installed WordPress in a folder called Viz210, the course number for the reason I'm teaching this video. And if you didn't put it in its own folder, then you'll simply go to the root of your drive, which is normally your domain name. But in this case, I did go ahead and put that in its own folder. And when I pull this up, this is what WordPress looks like by default. Now this is what we refer to as the front end of WordPress. This is what the world sees. This is what everyone is going to see when they visit your site. There's already a bit of a look here. In this case, this is the 2014 theme, and it's a responsive theme. So if I come in here and try to resize it, it starts to adjust the way it looks for different devices. So it's not, a great looking theme by default, but it's very serviceable. And we can change this in a matter of seconds anyways. Now, in order for us to start adding content to our WordPress site, we're going to have to go into what's called the back end or the dashboard. Generally, I like to do that on another tab or an entirely different browser. I've got my tab open up here. I'm going to simply open a new one, and I'll go to the same address. The exact same address is what's on the first tab, but at the end I'm going to type wp-admin. That's WP for WordPress hyphen ADMIN, admin. And that'll take us to the login screen for our dashboard. At this point, we want to enter our username and password, and that'll log us into the dashboard. In lieu of getting spam or letting the world see my information here, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and when I start back up in just a couple of seconds, you'll actually see the dashboard. So go ahead and log in now, please. Now that we're signed in, this is the WordPress dashboard. It says dashboard right at the top. It also says dashboard over on the upper left-hand corner. And we also refer to this as the back end. So you see I've got two tabs. I've got the first tab, which is the front end. This is what the world sees. And then the second tab, I have the back end or the dashboard, which is simply what we, the administrator, see. Now, if you've just installed WordPress, you'll probably see some window like this. It says Welcome to WordPress, and it gives you a little bit of help there. I'm going to bypass that for now. I'll go ahead and hit Dismiss on the upper right-hand corner so I can at least get a full view of what WordPress looks like on a normal basis. All along the left-hand side of the screen, you've got links, and we'll spend the next few sessions getting to know these. Today, I want to go over posts and pages, and within those, we'll also look at categories and tags. There's a lot of different things we can do here, and my advice to you is always research what you're doing before you start to come over here and just mess around, because you can really, for lack of a better term, break your website if you're not careful. Appearance and editor, for example, is where you can see the code that makes up WordPress. It's written in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and PHP, and it's very dangerous to go into code view if you don't know what you're doing. There are no undos, and there are no backups, so you've got to be very, very careful. So let's take a quick look at what we've got here. The first glance here actually says at a glance. We've got a sort of a summary of what our WordPress site's about. We have one post, one page, one comment automatically set up. It tells us any recent activity we might have, which might be comments that someone has left on our site. My guess is you will have spam on your WordPress site. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but this will at least show what comments have been left, and you can choose whether or not they actually appear on your site or not. You can approve them or unapprove them if you want. On the upper right, we have this section called Quick Draft, and this is a great quick place for us to start adding content. Now, content exists generally as either a post or a page. on our WordPress site. Remember, WordPress traditionally is a blogging software, even though we can use it for many, many things besides blogging. That's its origins. So when I go to the front end and look, I can see this is kind of set up like a blog. Hello World would be the name of my blog post. It automatically puts in the date that was in, and sometimes it'll even put other information like who posted it. And we also see the blog content. And all of this collectively is called a post. So when we go to the back end, when it says quick draft, these are actually things we can put in to create our post. This quick draft doesn't give us a lot of options. All we can really do is type in some stuff. We can hit save draft and it'll save it for later. Right below that section, we've got a WordPress news that gets updated regularly with the goings on in the WordPress world. So when we first log in, there's not a lot of things that you're going to have to do on this screen. Generally, I will start under Post. So let's go over to the left-hand side of the screen and click on Post. With just about all of these menus, you'll see that there are different links underneath each one, or little pop-out links on many of these, and Post is no different. It'll show you the actual title, it'll show you the author, the category, the tags, the comments, and the date that all of this was created. Now, Hello World is the standard default post that appears on your WordPress site. Now, just for kicks, let's go ahead and add a new post. We can click Add New right up here. And it'll take us to a screen that looks very, very similar to the dashboard's quick post or quick draft section, but it's essentially a place where we can add our post. So I'm going to put Alan's sample post. This is my first post. I hope you like it. Thanks for looking. More later. Okay, so as soon as we type in a title, something appears right below that title called a permalink. And we can change the way these permalinks look in our settings later, but it creates some sort of link directly to that post. We can also obviously type in text, but you can see here that there's an Add Media button, which is going to allow you to put in images or audio or video. Just about anything you can imagine can go on your WordPress site. And we also have some amount of formatting here. You've got things like bold and italic, strike through, you've got different lists, you've got block quotes, left, right, and center justification. You can add links if you want. If I wanted to make some of this a link, I could just highlight it. So there are some very Dreamweaver-esque type of options in here. I also notice right up here on this upper right-hand part of my post where I'm adding my content, there's visual and then there's text. And we're on the visual editor. This visual editor gives us these nice options. Text gives us more HTML type of options. And here's a great thing about WordPress. If you are accustomed to HTML, you can plug as much HTML and CSS in here as you want. So this gives you a hint on some typical HTML tags you might put in there, but you're welcome to go crazy writing your own HTML to format the look of each blog post. We're going to keep it real simple for now. We also have different formats we can put in here. If we want to, just make it a standard post for now, we can drop in this as an image or video or different things. I also see categories and tags, and we'll talk about those a little bit more later. Lastly, there's a featured image section, which is going to be great for different design themes that we may look at later that may have photo galleries or slideshows right on the front page. If you want there to be a featured image on that front page, that's what you would do here. You would set that as a featured image and create that. But we'll do more of that later. For right now, I just want to see what this is going to look like. I have choices to save this draft, preview it, or publish it. Now if you publish it, which I'm going to do, it is live for the world to see. That quick. So there's no FTP, there's no FileZilla, there's nothing that says I have to upload anything to my web server. It is done. So when I go back to the front end of my site now and refresh it, there we go. I've got a newest blog entry, Alan's sample post. So generally, blogs are going to be collections of these little pieces of content called posts. And posts can be organized in many different ways, specifically with tags and categories. But we'll do that in another session in the near future. For right now, we have to understand that most websites are going to have content that's going to need to be updated regularly. And that content, as far as WordPress is concerned, exists in posts. But it's not the only format that we can create content in. Let's direct our attention back to the dashboard. And if you look down on the left-hand side where our navigation is, we've got a section there called Pages. And Pages is another way that we can create content in WordPress. Pages are a little bit more static. You notice how when I make a post, it automatically gets added to my front page. Well, a page is something that's really not going to be updated very much. It's not going to appear on our front page. We can make a link to it in our navigation bar if we want, but for the most part, a page is going to be more of what we would refer to as a standard page on like our old school HTML website. Things like a contact page or an about page that we aren't really going to need to update very often, those would be ideal for pages. But any content that's going to be added regularly, newsworthy items, those are all going to be created as posts. To make a page, it's very, very simple. You can simply hit Add New, just like we did with Post. It's going to look very, very similar. I can create a page title, for example, Alan's sample page. And you can just type something there. Notice on our page options, there's a few choices. Featured images down there. We have a page attributes where maybe we can put this underneath another page, sort of like a hierarchy. But there's no tags and no categories. Those tags and categories are going to be very, very important. And when we're first learning WordPress, that's one thing we have to learn at the very beginning, is that we can organize our WordPress site in many different ways. We can make links to posts, to pages, to categories, or to tags. And in our case, pages don't really have any of those other choices. So pages are kind of by themselves. They're pretty much a one and done type of content where it's just going to be static. I'll hit publish, and once again it is done. It is live on the web. If I go back to the front end now and refresh it, I don't immediately notice anything in my content here. But I do see up here on the upper right of my design, on my navigation bar, I've now got a sample page which was already there in Alan's sample page. If I click on sample page, there's what was already built in to WordPress, which I can go back and delete. And here's Alan's sample page, and there it is. There's my heading. This is my sample page. Thanks for looking. And there's a section where I can leave a reply and post a comment. It's kind of nice. So pages at this point don't do much for me, with the exception of just give me something I can add to my nav bar. Now, looking down the road, we can put more things on our nav bar besides pages. So don't think that everything we do has to be done as a page just to go on our nav bar. That's not necessarily true. I do want to direct our attention on the dashboard. Also, while we're still on this page, you can go to Screen Options, and you can also choose what types of things you would like to choose from or have options for. So, for example, we could see our page attributes and featured image. Those things are all right down here on the bottom right. But there's also things about discussions and comments and so on that you can put on there. So if you'd like to check these, maybe I'll check discussion, comments, and author. And now I can see down here it says discussions, comments, and author. I can choose who's going to be the author of this. I'm the only user thus far. I can discuss, or I can choose or unchoose whether or not I'm going to allow comments, or something called trackbacks and pingbacks, which is a way for other sites to link to us. And you can take those off if you choose. So if you're thinking, oh, I'd love to have a page, but I don't know about this comment section, you can certainly uncheck those and hit update. And there we go. My comment section is now gone. So WordPress is full of options, but one of those that's kind of hidden from us at first is this screen options button right up here in our dashboard, and that's where we can choose to have other choices. The last thing for this session, I'm going to go back to pages, and I'm going to point out that anytime you want to change a page or get rid of a page, all you have to do is come back to pages, hover over the page title of the page that you're questioning, and you've got choices to edit, quick edit, trash, or view. This sample page, for example, that was built into my WordPress, perhaps I'd like to go ahead and trash that because I don't want that anymore. And it's now trashed. I can do the same thing to my post. So I can go to the Hello World and I can trash it, or I could edit it and change things up a little bit. Now I'll point out one last thing here. On the post we also have the screen options, and we've got other things for them as well. So if you're thinking, hey, I would really like there to be a comment section, maybe on my post as well, we can do that. We can come in here and we can click on discussion or comments or author, and we can change those options around. So if you can change who it's written from if you've got more than one user on your site, whether or not you want to allow comments, you can turn those on or off. So comments are already on. I'll leave them on for the moment, but if I go back to the front page, the front end of my site, click on the title, which gets me back to my blog page. You can click on any of these posts, and you can see your blog post and any comments that have been placed on it. And there's already a sample comment on the Hello World. So just like with pages, you also have these screen options right up here where you can choose the things that you do and do not want to see options for. So that tells us a little bit about creating content. Content exists as a post or a page. A post is sort of like an article in a magazine. You can have images with them, you can have multiple paragraphs, but it's a small piece of information. And they can be combined and categorized and organized in so many different ways. Pages are pretty simple. A contact page and about page. Something that's really not going to need to be updated very often makes a lot of sense for a page. So there you have it, pages versus posts. Hope that answers some of the questions on that.